She told him she knew I had worked in bars and to think about all the men I slept with, and how no respectable girl would ever work in the filthy places I had.
You better believe I'm back, back in the New York groove. I'm back.
I don't need it.
I need it.
Hello there. Don't want to make anyone wait any longer, so real quick, welcome to Reddit, where we shamelessly ask you to subscribe and like the video if you enjoy it, and where we say to smash the bell and hate ourselves for it while we go down an existential crisis mentally that slowly eats away at you day after day, video after video, late night of editing after late night of editing, until one day they find you on the roof barking at traffic with your underwear on your head blasting turn down for what from a speaker stuck in your, whoa, sorry, blacked out there for a second. Anyway, on with the video. Enjoy. r/justnofamily. GP writes, no contact. CPS and we are officially naming them Mr. and Mrs. Ridiculous. Hi guys, I tried to comment on most people's support posts, but it's been a busy week. We are still on baby watch, but she is officially dilated at 2, so I'm just getting last minute things tied up and trying to walk as much as possible. I swear if she isn't here by Halloween I'm walking across the states to get her out. In a ho, I do have a few updates, so settle in. My parents, who I have decided to name the Ridiculous, apparently have found out I'm in fact married. They must have found my business page, because Sunday night Mrs. Ridiculous switched tactics, found my husband's number, and proceeded to call him. My parents are not on social media, and to this day I doubt they even own a computer. Also, my brother was surprised when my sister told him I was pregnant last week, so I'm still unsure of how they found out I was preggers. I mean, they could have seen something in the newspaper on our business, but the ads we run with our picture are all pre-preggers, and they have no friends or family that they talk to, so I'm still trying to find the flying monkey. My husband answered his phone while we were in the kitchen cooking and immediately walked outside. I wasn't alarmed because I figured he had gone to grab firewood or let a dog out or put chickens up or whatever he does when he ventures out and about. He came back after about 10 minutes with a tight look on his very red face, and I knew something was up. I asked what was wrong, and he just shook his head and gave me a hug. My husband is one of those laid back good old boy types who is hardly ever rattled and avoids confrontation with humor. He never fights anyone, and once in a bar I watched him make friends with a guy trying to pick a fight. They are still friends to this day. He is Mr. Social and gets at least 2+ calls a day from random buddies. He said Mrs. Ridiculous called him and demanded to talk. My mom has never met or talked to my husband, so this piqued his curiosity. He said she started off by telling him that I was a really sick person who was extremely money hungry and was using him for money. I was mentally ill, and it wasn't his fault. He didn't see it as I'm a master manipulator. She was worried once I had the baby I would physically harm the child, and he needed to bring the baby to her so she could protect his child from me. She went on to talk about how I had lied about the ridiculous parent life with them was not that bad. How I had been a difficult child and had been wild and even whored around during high school, and they didn't know what to do with me and couldn't control me. My mom told him of a time we got physical and I pushed her, and how scared she was of me and how unhinged I am. She told him she knew I had worked in bars and to think about all the men I slept with, and how no respectable girl would ever work in the filthy places I had. He listened for a while and then laid into her. 1. My husband and I were really good friends for years before we actually realized that we would make an awesome couple and fell in love. When I met him, he was a broke college student with an alcohol problem living in a camper working a dead-end job. For Christmas one year I stood in Black Friday lines with my then boyfriend to buy him a discounted heated blanket and heater because I knew he was freezing to death in a camper in the middle of winter. He saw me going to school and busting ass at 3+ jobs to make ends meet and pay my bills. I only stopped working so much and went down to one job after our business had been in the green for over 3 years, and we felt comfortable 2 years ago. After we got together we worked together to scrimp and save every penny to start our business together and buy a house. We lived off of a vegetable garden that we canned ourselves and whatever he brought back from hunting. We ate venison for every meal for almost 2 years. We still have a vegetable garden, fill our freezer with wild game, buy everything secondhand with the exception of shoes and jeans, and are extremely frugal. Our wedding and honeymoon cost around $7,000. We paid off our 2012 vehicles and refused to take out loans for new rigs when ours are fine. All of the clothing and furniture we have for our daughter came from Goodwill or consignment with the exception from what we received from our baby shower and one rug I splurged on in her room. 5x9 rug on sale for $102. The furniture was bought from yard sales and I painted and restored every single piece myself. My husband knows I'm not after money because he didn't have any when we fell in love. The only reason we have a housekeeper is this pregnancy has come with so many problems that my husband hired her to make me ease up a bit. I love her, but think it's a complete waste of money when I could do it myself too. I lost my V card after I moved out of my parents' house. I never had a boyfriend because we moved so often and I had a job in high school not to mention their kids to take care of. Even after that, when we were just friends my husband saw who I dated and how picky I was. I don't let a lot of people too close and didn't keep a ton of friends or boyfriends because I had major trust issues. My husband saw this as my friend and understands this even more as my spouse. I do have friends who worked in bars and had some clients. I don't care, it is none of my business who or what they did, just wasn't my cup, if you know what I mean. 3. My hubby has 9 nieces and nephews who all live within a 3-mile radius. They range from babies to early 20s and I have babysit and had overnights with the majority of them. I like kids, but they also know they have to respect our house and animals, and we set boundaries with them when they come over. I'm not overdoing it as none of my in-laws have ever batted an eye when I watch their kids and often do them favors like picking up sick kids from school or when they get in a jam. My husband knows I'm not and never have been a danger to anyone, especially a kid. We also fostered tough animal cases. Yeah, all the fighting roosters we took in last year follow me around the yard and eat out of my hands and enjoy a good cuddle if I'm sitting on my porch. My dogs do not get spanked, and we work with positive rewards for things like potty and obedience training. If the human society has a tough case, the manager teases me and says you were the first person we called when we got this one in. My husband and I are even at odds. I don't believe in spankings for kids and he does. To put me in a class as dangerous to a child is fornicating and believable. 4. The only time I got physical with my mom was when I was trying to protect my sister. I came home from a work shift to find my sister in tears and my mom tearing up the house. I can't even remember the transgression my sister committed, but I told my mom to lay off her as she had asthma and was gasping for air. She was so upset. My mom moved towards me screaming something about respect and slapped me across the face. When she went to move again and backhand me, I caught her hand and pushed her away. I didn't slam her into a wall or anything, I just threw her off balance and she stumbled back. It was the first time I had fought back, and the look of shock on her face is something I will never forget as she realized we were the same size. She left and didn't come back for a couple of hours, which gave me time to calm my sister down, convince my brother to come out from under the bed, clean up and make them dinner. I'm still ashamed I put hands on my mom, but I truly was for self-defense. 5. I worked in a few dive bars, but also some really nice restaurants and cater companies. I also worked retail and bartended private parties and weddings for a long time to make ends meet and cover the costs that my parents piled on me, taking out utility bills and credit cards in my name, refusing to fill out the FAFSA and making me pay cash for college and then claiming me on their taxes so they received the refund. Refusing to let me have any insurance information, so when I got sick I had to pay out of pocket. My mom told me she dropped me off of the insurance policy before I realized that was a lie and I would have been covered since they had a family policy and it didn't cost a dime extra to cover me since I was in college. My husband knows all about this. He let her have it. Told her he never wanted to meet her and if she ever came near us, she would regret it. He stuck up for me, and when she figured this out she started backpedaling. She screamed that we weren't really married because he never asked for their permission. asked him what drugs he was on, and threatened to call the law. My husband doesn't do anything, and even stopped drinking a few years ago. He hung up on her. We are adding this call to the pile for our lawyer who has a C&D ready, but we are unsure of where they live, or work to serve them. We may have to hire a PI to get the information. Thanks for letting me vent. The ridiculous pair have not gotten the best of me. I'm determined to move on from this, and focus on this Tebow expert currently residing in my belly. It's just nice to have a place to vent and get it out. If you're going through something similar, and I know some of you are, I encourage you to write and post and let other people support you instead of letting it run in circles in your head. Been there, done that. r/justnofamily. The ridiculousness of the ridiculous pair update. Hey guys. I'm so sorry to leave all of you hanging. Life has been a complete whirlwind. For those of you following my story, you know that I'm always prepared, but nothing prepared me for having my baby. Man, can a baby wear you out? Thank you for all of your kind and concerned messages. It really means a lot to have the support of so many people out there, and I have a lot to update you on, so settle in. My daughter was born on Diademutus around 7:50 am after 36 hours of labor and an emergency C-section. She spent 4 days in the NICU, but thankfully is doing well and home. She'll be 3 months on February the 1st, and she is the happiest baby I have ever seen, although I'm a bit biased. Motherhood is amazing. It exceeds all expectations I could ever have had. For a long time I was extremely worried that I would be a shiz parent because of the example my parents set. I was worried I would be lazy and grow neglectful. I worried about being impatient and snapping and taking it out on her, but that's not the way it feels. I love being a mom. Yes, she is demanding, but I realize I'm her only advocate, and that motivates me to get my butt out of bed for the 4th time in the middle of the night. Yes, I'm exhausted, but I've never so much as raised my voice to her, let alone try to take my frustrations out on her physically. It's just not an option even at my most frustrated state, and that's the difference between me and them. For all of you who messaged me with the same concerns, who had shiz parents and terrible examples, I say don't worry. You find your own way through parenthood, and man is it a fun ride. I'll post my full birth experience over on Baby Bumps if anyone is interested. My daughter brought a lot of joy to the family, but nothing compared to seeing my own granny hold her. My mom's mom and I have always been very close. My granny loved my daughter, and at Thanksgiving we took a ton of pictures that I treasure to this day. Unfortunately, 2 days after Thanksgiving my granny had a blood clot that went to her heart and died. I was and still am a bit devastated. There I was after a traumatic pregnancy, delivery, and hospital stay, barely able to walk across the room with 27 staples not yet out, and my uncle called at 2 in the morning. It was and still am in shock. My uncle, in his grief, as this was completely unexpected, asked me to contact my siblings and mom. If you remember, my mom, Mrs. Ridiculous, hasn't spoken to anyone in her own family in over a decade, including her mom, my granny. So I took one for the team. I felt it was the least I could do, as my uncles were over their heads trying to make arrangements. I thought maybe she would just keep the crazy contained. Yes, I was on great painkillers and out of my mind. I contacted my sister and brother and then unblocked their number and made the call. Mr. Ridiculous picked up the phone, and something in my tone must have been no nonsense, because I told him to hand Mrs. Ridiculous the phone. I needed to talk to her, and he did, no questions asked. I think I felt sorry for my mom. Why, I'm not sure. I was worried she would cry and be upset that she refused to visit her own mother for the last decade, and she would regret her decisions and feel guilty. I was ready for that reaction, but the reaction I got was so much worse. She wasn't upset, and she didn't cry. She was angry that I had called and said she was dealing with her own problems. My youngest sister, who I have never met, had an earache. She didn't want to talk to me. She expected my uncles to call her. Then she demanded my uncles call her. I told her they were busy and had asked me to call. Pointed out she hadn't talked to her brothers in over a decade, and they were trying to arrange a funeral. She threw a shiz fit over the phone and told me I was a child and didn't understand. She wanted an adult to call her, and that's what she expected to happen. She demanded to know where Granny was being buried, and I told her she was being cremated and scattered at sea as requested. She blew up. She went on and on about her mother never wanting such a thing, and that people who were cremated didn't go to heaven. She asked me about her will. My granny and I were extremely close and talked almost every day. She had told me in advance she was leaving my mom $1, so my mom couldn't contest the will. When I explained that to my mom, she hit the fornicating roof and screamed and yelled angry vile words. I started to cry. I was exhausted, in physical pain, and my daughter was hungry. Then she turned her anger on me. She told me to stop acting so fornicating childish. She told me I shouldn't be so sad. My mother hadn't died, hers had. She told me I was being selfish, and I should be ashamed of the way I'm acting, that I didn't have a right to be more upset that she was. She said she knew I was only acting this way for attention and finally just hung up on me. She didn't come to the funeral or the viewing. She harassed family members about going into my granny's home and taking certain items and was told no. They gave me Zoloft after this. I'm not sure if it was baby blues, traumatic birth, or the loss of my granny, but I needed the drugs to get me through. Maybe a combo of all three, but it's taken me a while to get back into the office and write this update. For that I'm really sorry. It's just been a lot. I think I'm at the point now where she can't hurt me anymore. It's taken a lot, but I'm just going to try to move on, take care of my family, and do me for a while. When she did call and harass my uncle for items out of the house, he asked her if she wanted to meet my husband or daughter, thinking maybe he could bridge a gap. She told him my baby was a bastard since I wasn't really married. She thinks since I got married in another country on the beach and not in church, my marriage isn't accepted in the eyes of God. She also considers me unmarried because my husband didn't ask for her permission. I'm just done if I wasn't before. This just reaffirms how crazy and self-seeking she is. Thanks for sticking with me through this. It's been an interesting ride. I'm still going to continue counseling because I'm starting to understand the long-term effects abuse has had on me in my life, but I'm really happy now. I have a lot to be thankful for, and I count my blessings every single day. I'll keep you guys updated should they pull some more shiz. P.S. To those of you who met me saying I was making this up, and it's not true, I'd like to take the time to say fornicate you. Trolls like you who sit behind a computer screen and judge people with nasty comments are the reason people like me don't come forth and tell their stories. You are the reason abuse is kept private and make victims feel humiliated and ashamed to tell their stories. I'm not giving you any more time, so stop messaging me.
That's a 10.
Whoa, you made it to the end? Nice. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe and like. I'm a new channel, and it helps a lot more than you think. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Select